Hi everyone, just thought I'd make a video just showing some yard weaning process of lambs. I know it's pretty common with cattle, but with sheep probably not so much, but it's it's getting a little bit of traction, mainly because the results are just so far superior to just throwing them out in the paddock, which they really tend to go backwards if you do that. So what you do is train them onto hay nice and early with mothers out in the paddock or in the yards, preferably in the yards as well, like bring them in the yards, occasionally, either before or after marking at some point. Yeah, and just get them accustomed to the whole deal so that they know when they're in here that, there's good experiences in here. So there's a hay feeder there. You don't have to have a hay feeder, you can throw it on the ground. I'm not sure about them, to be honest, whether they're worth bothering with, but anyway, we've got them. The lick feeders there, I'm not actually filling those or putting anything in them. They've just got bits of channel on the side for the mineral licks, and they've got old half tyres there as well. Bits of channel, things like that, to put your mineral licks in, which has got plenty of ADE and that sort of thing in them. Because you're just trying to make the whole process as stress-free as possible for lambs, so they don't go off their tucker and they don't go backwards. So this whole process, the first day you should just draft them off and that's it. Don't try and do anything else, especially if you've got a big mob. That's enough, and just try and stretch the process out over a few days. Usually takes me about 6 days for the full process. Now, they're not in the yards the whole time. They are, what I tend to do is just electric fence off a piece of the laneway, which just got a bit of green feed and what they were used to before with mum, and just sort of pulse them out onto that. Make sure obviously they've filled up a bit with hay, and they haven't. You don't want them ever to completely empty them out. You're trying to develop their rumen and de-stress them. And I mentioned electric fence, so that's that's probably not hugely common in this country with merino lambs, but I train them with their mothers onto Kiwi Tech electric fence, just a 2-wire fence. So I train them nice and early so that they really know what an electric fence is. Plenty of zap in it, but I even still, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on it and it's just them now, not with their mums, I'm going to be, when I put that little fence across the laneway, I will probably put about three, 4 wires on it and make sure they're all hot. And yeah, that's basically it. And basically what I've got here is just a big circle, so all the gates are open in the yards, all tight corners have been eliminated, things like that. Probably shouldn't have that that little loading ramp in there, but anyway, it's play equipment for them. I think it's fairly safe. I haven't had it fall over or anything before. And yeah, they just get used to the yards, and yeah, just go around in circles, keeps them entertained. They're only sheep, it's not that much going on. Plenty of water too. So I've got 4 troughs in here, and there's, the water's high pressure. Don't ask me what it is. I mean, it's coming from a 2-inch pipe of, I don't know what the elevation is, but it's good pressure. Yeah, and look, if it was hotter, I'd definitely have more troughs, but that seems to be fine for them. And yeah, some troughs out in the laneway when I put them out, so that everywhere they've got access to water, hay, bit of grass, yeah, whatever, everything they need. And the next part of the process is to just, bring them in the next time we bring them in. So don't attempt more than 1 thing per day. So first day, drafting them off their mums. A second day, you might think about weighing them or vaccinating them if you can do it fairly quickly, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably leave that to day 3. And Yeah, so second day probably let them out onto a little bit of green tucker or something, and then fill your hay back up and then get them back in. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention is a product that I use called Generade, which is a magnesium product that you mix up with water and you tip that on the hay, and that's a sort of a muscle relaxant, so that makes them you know, chillax a little bit more. Anyway, that's about it, and you know, obviously it's just something you can rig up around your existing wool shed. Nothing too fancy. If they're, you know, if you're doing everything right and you're keeping everything as chilled as possible, the lambs are sort of, you know, reasonably accustomed to people and going in the yards and moving through paddocks and things like that. You know, you don't need you know, solid sort of fence. You can just get away with what I've got here, which is just, you know, even that's just second-hand hinge joint. So, you know, it's nothing amazing. Yeah, if they're starting to break out, you know, they're probably more stressed than what you'd like, and you just, yeah. So there's 1,500 lambs in this complex here, and it's not a huge area. Okay, I think that's about it.